Modern AAA games, in my opinion, aren't failing because developers are lazy. They're failing because the priorities have shifted. I'm Charlie. I've played games, especially fast-paced shooters, my entire life, and lately I've started noticing a trend on how modern AAA multiplayer games are being structurally designed for monetization rather than fun. Whilst talking about this subject today, I'll be specifically focusing on Battlefield 6 as a prime example on what I believe is wrong with the AAA gaming industry. The biggest problems I see today in AAA games are related to being unfinished on release, having content focused around cosmetics and skins, a decrease in content focused around the longevity of a game and gameplay, and games being live service to facilitate these issues. While Battlefield 6 had a popular launch bringing in a ton of new players, as well as bringing back veterans of the older releases, it was clear it still had and has missing or incomplete features, such as no dedicated public servers. This means the server browser is effectively gone for public matches, and you're often thrown into games that are just about to start, leaving lobbies half empty at the sociable hours. Map voting is gone too, which makes long grinding sessions repetitive and causes frustration. Portal creations and player-made servers lack menu promotion and engagement. In the current state, these community-based features rarely populate a wasted opportunity. Was this overlooked to bring back players from older titles where such features were well supported, or was it just poorly implemented? While on the topic of underdeveloped tick box modes, I'll just mention RedSec. And that's it for RedSec. I've mentioned it, I'm going to move swiftly on. In all seriousness though, these aren't just missing or underdeveloped features, they're features that don't directly drive monetization, and that's what makes their lack of or poor implementation interesting. It's depressing to admit that even though key features were and still are missing from launch, they at very least released a playable game on day one. Something that is becoming less common in the gaming world. It's truly concerning how many unfinished games are released for sale. I remember my first DLC vividly, a World at War map pack back in 2008. This was before cosmetic microtransactions and battle passes existed. I completed the game on day one, and the zombies mode that followed absolutely blew my mind. It scared the fuck out of me in the best way, and to be honest, still has me hooked for hours when I do play. Then about a year later, I was at a friend's house, and he introduced me to the Zombies map, the final add-on for the game, which I hadn't known about because I had no way to play online at the time. And those map packs of World at War didn't just expand the multiplayer experience and add depth, they cemented a zombies mode in the Treyarch Call of Duty franchise DNA. What started as a side project ended up shaping a fan favourite mode, still almost 18 years later. That's the kind of content that gave the game longevity, kept players coming back and created memories. Fast forward to 2026 and things feel very different. DLC content still exists, but the focus has shifted to cosmetic microtransactions and battle passes. Sure, we do get new maps or seasonal additions for free in most cases, but these don't directly generate revenue. And because of this, I can't help but feel that less time and effort goes into these gameplay additions than the time and effort put into designing hundreds of skins or battle passes. Those cosmetics pretty much add nothing to the actual experience, and in some cases they even affect gameplay balance, giving an advantage to paying players, however they do generate profit. In other words, developers are now putting more effort into monetization than into gameplay itself, which once provided meaningful longevity. DLC that used to expand and deepen a game has largely been replaced with cosmetic progression systems. And here's the thing, this is a consumer-driven problem. Developers follow the revenue. If battle passes didn't sell, they wouldn't dominate design. I'm guilty of feeding this beast too, to be honest. I've bought battle passes, but only for games that I know I'll sink a ridiculous amount of time into, and that I genuinely want to support. Well, that's what I tell myself anyway. I'm afraid it looks as if Battlefield 6 is also falling into this monetization structure, with Season 2 being delayed and only bringing 2 new maps, as well as 2 new vehicles and 6 new weapons, which will, to be honest, no doubt be unbalanced on release. But for a game that is clearly dying due to lack of content, this isn't enough to bring back players already bored of the repetitive map rotation. But of course, we do still have skins in abundance, skins that you can buy separate to the Battle Pass. Earlier I mentioned not knowing about the World at War DLC because I didn't have internet at the time. That situation simply wouldn't exist today because most modern multiplayer titles are built as live services. In 2008, when you bought a game on disc, It had to function as a complete product. Major updates weren't guaranteed. That created a structural pressure to ship something finished. Today, live service models fundamentally change that structure. Updates, seasonal drops and balanced patches are now expected, sometimes on day one. The product is no longer treated as a finished release, but as an evolving platform. And when a game is designed as a platform, the urgency to ship a fully complete experience at launch is naturally reduced. Look at No Man's Sky. It launched in a controversial state, missing promised features, but years of updates later, it's respected and polished. That's the benefit of live service. Redemption is possible through live service, but the same structure that allows redemption also allows incomplete launches, which is a problem we're facing. When games are expected to evolve over years, missing features at launch feel less critical. Even titles like Battlefield 6 require an online connection for modes that aren't directly tied to multiplayer. That signals something important, to me anyway. The game isn't a fixed product. It's an ongoing service, and once the game becomes a service, the design priorities shift. Retention systems matter more, seasonal engagement matters a lot more, and monetization loops matter even more too. Longevity becomes something that's maintained through updates, not necessarily built into the core experience from day one. So in summary, throughout this video I've talked about unfinished launches, cosmetic driven content, and the rise of live service structures. None of these systems are inherently bad. In fact, they've allowed games to grow and evolve in ways that weren't possible before. I'm talking about No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk, and there's loads more examples out there. But the problem with this is they've also changed the incentives behind the design. When engagement metrics, seasonal retention, and monetization loops become central to development, it's worth asking what gets deprioritized. Maybe this is just evolution of gaming. Or maybe this is simply what modern AAA gaming looks like now. Or maybe it's a de-evolution of modernised AAA gaming. But the question I keep personally coming back to is this: are AAA games being built for long-term longevity, or are they being structured primarily for engagement? And more importantly, are we just rewarding that shift? Please let me know what you think, and thank you for listening and watching. If you like what I've talked about today, or would like to discuss, please like and subscribe and leave a comment saying what you think is going wrong in the AAA gaming industry.